The letter arrived unexpectedly on Ibrahim Traoré's desk. "Entry denied," it read. The Burkina Faso president stared at the Jamaican government's rejection in disbelief. Thousands of Jamaicans were waiting to hear him speak, and a monument stood in his honor. Yet someone decided his voice was too dangerous to be heard. Hours later, Traoré would address the world anyway, bypassing borders through a live broadcast that would trigger protests across Jamaica. The young leader's message couldn't be physically present, but the words he spoke would shake a nation's foundation and expose who truly pulls the strings of power. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. What happens when a foreign leader becomes too popular in another country? Jamaica's government had a clear answer for Ibrahim Traoré. The ban came swiftly, catching many by surprise. The Jamaican Movement for Development had extended a formal invitation to President Traoré months earlier. They planned a major rally at National Heroes Park in Kingston, where thousands of supporters would gather to hear the Burkina Faso leader speak about economic independence and resource sovereignty. Organizers secured permits, arranged security, and even built a temporary stage adorned with Pan-African colors. Local media reported that hotel bookings in Kingston surged as people from across the island planned to attend. But just 5 days before the scheduled event, the Jamaican government issued its statement. Due to security concerns related to the proposed visit, the official release read, "The government cannot approve entry at this time." The brevity of the announcement left many questions unanswered. What specific security threats existed? Why hadn't these concerns been raised during the weeks of preparation? The timing seemed calculated, late enough that cancellation would cause maximum disruption, but early enough to prevent legal challenges. Meanwhile, the contrast between the government's position and public sentiment couldn't have been more stark. In Montego Bay, local artists had completed a mural depicting Traoré alongside Jamaican national heroes Marcus Garvey and Bob Marley. Street vendors were already selling T-shirts with Traoré's image in quotes. Social media buzzed with anticipation for his arrival. One popular post shared thousands of times read, "First time I'm seeing Jamaicans this excited about a visiting leader. This isn't about politics, it's about respect and dignity." Traoré's message found fertile ground in Jamaica for clear reasons. His calls for resource nationalism and economic independence resonated deeply in a country where foreign corporations control major industries from bauxite mining to tourism. When Traoré nationalized mining operations in Burkina Faso and redirected profits toward infrastructure and education, many Jamaicans wondered why their government couldn't take similar steps. Jamaica's income inequality ranks among the highest in the Caribbean, with 19.3% of the population living below the poverty line, despite the country's natural resources and tourism revenue. The security concerns justification quickly unraveled under basic scrutiny. Journalists requested specifics through Freedom of Information requests, but the government provided only vague references to potential disruptions. Security experts pointed out that Traoré traveled with minimal security detail in previous international visits, and Jamaica regularly hosts high-profile international figures without incident. The Jamaica Constabulary Force reportedly had no intelligence suggesting actual security threats related to the visit. Former Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith inadvertently revealed more when pressed by reporters. "We must consider all factors when evaluating state visits, including our international relationships and obligations," she stated. This brief comment offered a glimpse into what many suspected. External considerations influenced the decision more than any domestic security issues. Evidence mounted that the security explanation served as pretext for political motives. A leaked internal memo from the Ministry of National Security made no mention of security threats but discussed potential diplomatic complications from hosting Traoré. Opposition politicians questioned the decision in Parliament, with one representative demanding to know which foreign powers expressed concern about Traoré's visit. The question went unanswered. The ban triggered immediate backlash. Protest signs appeared outside government buildings asking, "Whose security are you protecting?" Social media users changed profile pictures to Traoré's image. The Jamaican Movement for Development released a statement condemning the decision as an assault on Jamaica's sovereignty and vowed to challenge it legally. Independent polls showed 68% of Jamaicans disagreed with the government's decision. Amidst the growing controversy, government officials maintained their position but struggled to provide consistent explanations. The Prime Minister avoided direct questions about the ban during press conferences. One cabinet minister suggested logistical challenges as an additional reason, while another mentioned scheduling conflicts, contradicting the official security narrative. The truth became increasingly clear. The official reason for Jamaica banning Ibrahim Traoré was security concerns. But all evidence pointed to political pressure as the real motivation. The government's inconsistent explanations, the suspicious timing, and the leaked internal communications revealed a decision driven by factors beyond public safety. This raises the critical question: if not genuine security concerns, what or who prompted Jamaica's government to take such a controversial stance? Which powerful forces felt threatened by Traoré's message to the Jamaican people? The answer would emerge in the aftermath of the ban, revealing connections between Jamaica's decision and pressures from much larger global players who viewed Traoré's growing influence as a direct challenge to their interests in the Caribbean. A phone call from Washington changed everything for Prime Minister Andrew Holness. 72 hours before Ibrahim Traoré's scheduled arrival, Holness received a call that would profoundly alter Jamaica's diplomatic position. According to sources close to the administration, the conversation was brief but left no room for misinterpretation. Jamaica occupies a strategic position in Caribbean politics that extends beyond its geographic importance. Since gaining independence in 1962, Jamaica has maintained close economic and political ties with the United States. These connections run deep. The U.S. remains Jamaica's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade exceeding $2.1 billion annually. American companies dominate key sectors of the Jamaican economy, including tourism, bauxite mining, and telecommunications. This economic leverage translates to significant political influence. The relationship isn't merely economic. Jamaica serves as a critical security partner in combating drug trafficking through the Caribbean corridor. The United States provides millions in security assistance annually through initiatives like the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative. This backdrop of economic and security dependence creates an imbalanced power dynamic where Jamaican leaders must carefully navigate American interests. During the critical phone call, a senior U.S. State Department official reportedly told Prime Minister Holness, "If you allow Ibrahim Traoré to set foot in Jamaica, we can't guarantee your safety or your power." The language was carefully chosen, not explicitly ordering Jamaica to ban Traoré, but making the consequences unmistakably clear. The threat contained layers of meaning that Holness immediately understood. Safety in this context never referred to physical harm. Instead, it communicated that the political stability his government enjoyed could quickly evaporate. The United States maintains significant influence over international financial institutions that Jamaica relies on for economic stability. With Jamaica's debt-to-GDP ratio exceeding 90%, the country depends on favorable financing terms that could be jeopardized with a simple policy shift from Washington. American concerns about Traoré's visit centered on his message rather than his person. Traoré's speeches consistently highlight resource sovereignty and challenge Western economic dominance. His government in Burkina Faso has canceled exploitative mining contracts, redirected resource profits to domestic needs, and reduced foreign corporate influence. These policies have resonated across the global South, especially in resource-rich nations where citizens question why their natural wealth hasn't translated to widespread prosperity. For Washington strategists, Jamaica represented dangerous territory for such messaging. The island nation faces growing frustration over economic inequality despite abundant natural resources. Foreign corporations extract Jamaica's bauxite, while many communities near mining operations lack basic infrastructure. Tourism generates billions, but most profits flow to international hotel chains rather than local communities. These conditions created fertile ground for Traoré's message about resource sovereignty. According to officials familiar with U.S. strategy, Washington's approach involved a calculated risk. If Traoré visited and sparked public demonstrations, the U.S. would blame him for destabilizing Jamaica. This could justify increased American intervention under the guise of restoring order. Conversely, if Jamaica banned Traoré, any resulting protests could be contained as purely domestic political disputes. Either scenario protected American interests while isolating Traoré's influence. This approach fits within a historical pattern of U.S. intervention in the Caribbean and Latin America. When Jacobo Arbenz implemented land reforms in Guatemala, threatening United Fruit Company's interests, the CIA orchestrated his overthrow in 1954. Michael Manley's resource nationalism in Jamaica during the 1970s triggered destabilization campaigns. Maurice Bishop's government in Grenada felled a U.S. invasion in 1983 after pursuing policies Washington deemed too aligned with Cuba. The 2004 removal of Haiti's Jean-Bertrand Aristide followed similar patterns. The phone call represented more than mere diplomatic pressure. It carried the weight of this historical context. Prime Minister Holness understood that challenging Washington's preferences could result in his government facing mounting economic pressures, negative international media coverage, or covert destabilization efforts. The security concerns cited publicly masked the reality that Jamaica's government itself felt insecure about the consequences of defying its powerful ally. Evidence of direct U.S. pressure appeared in diplomatic circles within days. A senior Caribbean diplomat, speaking anonymously, confirmed that American officials had expressed serious concerns about Traoré's scheduled visit during regional security meetings. A leaked diplomatic cable referenced necessary measures to maintain stability in the Caribbean, language typically used to justify intervention. Holness's decision to ban Traoré reflected these pressures rather than genuine security concerns. The last-minute timing, contradictory explanations, and swift implementation all point to external influence driving the decision. Jamaica's sovereignty became collateral damage in a larger geopolitical calculation. While Jamaican officials believed they had successfully managed the crisis by preventing Traoré's physical presence, they failed to anticipate his response. Rather than accepting the ban quietly, Traoré prepared a countermove that would bypass physical borders entirely and speak directly to the Jamaican people, a strategy that would prove more effective than any in-person appearance could have been. How does a leader speak to a nation that has banned him? Ibrahim Traoré found a way that no border control could stop. The ban preventing his physical entry into Jamaica presented a challenge, but one that modern technology could easily overcome. Traoré and his team quickly organized an alternative approach, a direct live broadcast to the Jamaican people. The decision to broadcast carried significant weight. It represented not just a workaround to physical restrictions, but a direct challenge to the authority of Jamaica's government and its powerful allies. By speaking directly to Jamaicans without government filters or media interpretation, Traoré would effectively nullify the ban's intended purpose of silencing his message. His team secured a stable satellite connection and coordinated with supporters in Jamaica to maximize the broadcast reach through social media channels, local radio stations, and public viewings. The broadcast began precisely at the time Traoré had been scheduled to speak at the National Heroes Park rally, seated at a simple desk with the flags of both Burkina Faso and Jamaica behind him. Traoré addressed the Jamaican people with measured determination. His opening words acknowledged the unusual circumstances while establishing an immediate connection with viewers. "They may prevent me from standing on Jamaican soil, but they cannot prevent my words from reaching your ears and my ideas from reaching your minds." Traoré's accusations against Prime Minister Holness were direct and unmistakable. "The truth is, Holness is not protecting you, he is protecting himself," Traoré stated, deliberately mispronouncing the Prime Minister's name in a way that questioned his integrity. He confronted the government's motivations head-on. "Why is your leader so afraid of my visit? Why did he ban me from your country? What is he hiding?" The most incendiary portion of the address came when Traoré revealed alleged details about American pressure on Jamaica's government. "The Americans warned Holness that they couldn't guarantee his safety if I came to Jamaica," he claimed. "But what they really meant was they couldn't guarantee their control over him because they know that once you hear the truth, you will never be silent again. This framing transformed the narrative from a simple entry denial to an international power play, with Jamaica caught in the middle. Throughout the broadcast, Traoré consistently positioned the ban as evidence of foreign control over Jamaica. He drew parallels between Jamaica's current situation and Burkina Faso's historical struggles for true independence. He pointed to specific examples of resource exploitation in both countries: bauxite mines in Jamaica where profits flow overseas while local communities remain impoverished, and gold extraction in Burkina Faso that his government had recently restructured to benefit citizens. Traoré connected Jamaica's situation to broader patterns affecting developing nations across Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin America. He described how similar tactics had been used to maintain economic control in resource-rich nations through puppet governments and exploitative contracts. The consistency of these patterns, he argued, revealed a system rather than isolated incidents, a modern form of colonialism that operated through economic leverage rather than direct military control. The impact of the broadcast was immediate and powerful. Social media platforms erupted with activity as Jamaicans shared clips and quotes. Hashtags like #Truth to Jamaica and #Traoré speaks quickly dominated local trending topics. Within hours, spontaneous gatherings formed in Kingston's main square, with people replaying portions of the address on mobile phones and portable speakers. By nightfall, these gatherings transformed into organized protests. Crowds in Kingston chanted, "We want Traoré, we want Traoré," as they marched toward government buildings. Protesters carried signs with messages taken directly from Traoré's speech: "Truth to power, we are not puppets, and wholeness must go." The protest quickly spread beyond the capital, reaching Montego Bay and Spanish Town by the following morning. Inside the Prime Minister's office, Wholeness reportedly watched the unfolding events with visible concern. According to sources, external pressure continued as the crisis deepened, with calls to bring in the soldiers and lock down the city to contain the growing demonstrations. Traoré's broadcast had achieved what his physical presence might not have. It had directly challenged Jamaica's government and its allies by exposing the ban as foreign interference. The resulting protests represented more than simple support for Traoré. They signified a broader awakening to questions of sovereignty and self-determination that resonated deeply with the Jamaican people. As images of the protests circulated globally, Traoré's influence extended far beyond Jamaica. Leaders in other Caribbean nations, West Africa, and parts of Latin America began citing his message in their own political discourse. The confrontation between digital defiance and traditional power structures revealed a shifting landscape where borders and bans held less power against ideas that resonated with people's lived experiences. Without setting foot in Jamaica, Ibrahim Traoré showed that physical borders can't contain ideas that connect with people seeking sovereignty. His digital broadcast bypassed government restrictions and spoke directly to Jamaicans questioning foreign control over their resources and future. The confrontation exposed the tension between popular movements and established power structures backed by global interests. As protests spread across Jamaica, the government faced mounting pressure to explain their decision. This incident may mark a turning point in how nations respond to external pressure. As Traoré's influence grows across the global south, more leaders might reconsider whose interests they truly serve: their citizens or powerful foreign allies.